going to Caleb is a theist. He, him, wants to talk about intelligent cause and the teleological argument, it sounds like. What is up, Caleb? You are on Atheist Experience.
Yeah, hi. So I called in before, and I want to kind of talk about something. So I called in before to talk about the teleological argument, and I don't expect you at all to remember the conversation, of course. So I'm sure. Do you know how the teleological argument goes? I mean, you probably had it presented to you 100 times.
Yeah, pretty basically. If you think you can give it to us in about 15 to 30 seconds, that's always great, just to make sure that everybody's on the same page.
Okay, so I would say the definition of the teleological argument, before I get to the premises, just uses the apparent design that we observe in nature as evidence for God's existence. Premise one of the teleological argument is that every design had a designer, and premise two is that the universe has highly complex design. Both of these premises making us reach a conclusion, if both of them are true, that therefore the universe had a designer. So that is the teleological argument. And so when I was calling in, it actually might have been the exact same crew. Like it was you and maybe the other guy too. Sorry, I don't know your names really. But,
that's okay. SR and Jim.
So I was. Now I know, and now I remember because I just heard it when you guys were talking before you started answering calls. So where the call kind of ended was where, so I also did kind of get thrown off a little bit. That's not an excuse, though. So I was talking about complexity and the anthropic principle and trying to just talk about how low of a chance there is based on that evidence that the universe has of coming to existence by the naturalistic worldview, just by chance, pretty much. And so when I kind of got to that, you guys were pretty much telling me that probability doesn't matter. And so could I hear kind of like some more on that?
Sure. Jim?
Yeah. So it's not that probability doesn't matter. So we don't know what the probability is, right? And this goes back to the fundamental question that I have for, you gave the classic teleological argument. There's dozens of them, different variations, but you did give the classic. The question is, how do we determine what is designed and what isn't designed, right? And so I have an object somewhere in my hand, let's assume for a moment, that nobody has ever seen. What is the step-by-step process that I could use to determine if that object is designed or not?
I don't know, like if it's a rock, then you know that it's natural, and if it's something like a bouncy ball, then you know it's designed. So you can tell by observing the object, which is kind of like just science.
Real quick though, real quick, Caleb. I want to make sure I'm understanding, okay? Because I'm not sure that I do. The thing that you just said, are you trying to give Jim's perspective, or are you trying to say your perspective? Do you agree with that statement that like you can look at a rock and you can look at a bouncy ball and you can go, one of those is like natural and one of those is like designed?
Well, I mean, I think different things show design, but that doesn't mean things don't happen naturally, because God would have created nature if he exists, which I do believe.
But it's designed in nature if God's doing it, though. Don't switch out of the category real quick. We're talking about things that are designed, right? And so natural is actually, your category of natural there is actually naturally designed. It's designed by an intelligence. It just happens to be something that people themselves didn't design. In your world, you've got designed by people and designed by God, right? There is nothing in your world that's not designed by God.
He created everything, but he also created processes which happen naturally. Like, for example, like grass, it grows. Like, that's not necessarily a miracle. God created the grass to do that, but the grass is growing naturally.
But okay, but we're also talking about two different things. You're talking about things that exist within a universe and universes. So I kind of want to go back to that meta topic of how do we determine something is designed? And you said a rock in a rubber ball, but that's not a process. That's not a methodology, right? What I'm looking for is that methodology that I can go and follow to determine if something in my hand is designed or natural. What is the process?
Well, I was saying like observation. I was like saying, like, observe it, see what, if it looks natural or if it looks like designed by somebody, is like what I was kind of saying. But I mean, like,
But I can design something to look natural, right? We do that all the time with a wide variety of products. We want them to look natural, and so we design them to look natural. So how something looks isn't going to help me.
well, I kind of think for some of this, we also have to first see if God even does exist. And I'm not kind of trying to jump out of something else, but how do we know that God created a process if we know if God exists? You know?
I mean,
Well, that's my line,
okay.
and yeah, we haven't gotten quite there yet.
Yeah,
But-
I mean, okay, I'm with you on that, Caleb.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not saying that like that's a bad thought to like follow through. The problem is though, like that's a you problem. It's not on us. Like we're in the boat of saying, yeah, we don't think there's anything out there that's designed by God, and in part because of what Jim's going at right now. We don't think there's a good, we don't think when somebody comes to us and tells us that, they have a good set of criteria to make that determination. But then, yeah, tacked on to that, for sure, the crux of the issue, like, yeah, neither of us are convinced that this thing's even real. So, like, yeah, I don't think unicorns are designing anything in the world around us, in part because I don't think unicorns are real. I mean, we can switch to that if you want and just talk about what it is that makes you believe in God. But if you're using an argument that says God designed everything and the design that I see in the world around me is from God, that proves God's existence, I mean, you see the issue, right?
Well, this is kind of like what I didn't want to happen. So I feel
Yeah,
like
but hold up. We'll go to what you did and didn't want to happen in just a second, Caleb. Real quick though, if that chain that I just laid out to you is what you're going down, you see why that's a problem, right?
Well, that's not the only part of that I called in for. I was calling in to kind of respond.
That's fine. Just say yes. Just say yes. I know you're a smart person, Caleb. I've talked to you a bunch. Just admit it. Just say, yeah, man, that argument you just laid out that I was walking down for a few seconds there, that one don't work. I'm going to try something different.
That's just kind of something I tried to make up in my head. So, I mean, yeah, I mean, I kind of get that. I kind of use something much better. I'm not like,
cool.
I haven't like studied stuff at school or anything. That's not even
That's okay. I just think that's a really important thing. Look, I am wrong all the time. Just the other day, a buddy of mine and I were talking about this cool comedian that's coming into town. And I said, no way. Tickets got to be like 60, 70 bucks. And we looked it up and it was 30 bucks. And it took 2 seconds for me to just go, oh, my bad, man. Yeah, you were right, I guess. But that's really important that we do that. So drop this argument. You agree that it's bad. Let's go to the other arguments, Caleb. I never want to hear this argument again from you because you agree it's bad.
Well, we could also deal with the probability. And so continuing on with the idea that there's this object, how do I determine if it's designed or not? The thing that I have to do is I look at, and you got really close with observation. It's not just observation though, right? I can go and say, okay, what's it made out of? It's made out of some metal. Does this metal occur naturally? And if the answer is yes, then that gets me a step closer. If this shape can happen naturally, it gets me a step closer. But everything that I do to determine if this object that nobody's ever seen before in my hand is designed or not is compare it to another object, to another thing that I know is natural, or to compare it to the laws of physics that we know are natural. So I'm always comparing it to something. The problem that you have is that we cannot compare what's inside the universe to the creation of the universe. They are two different things. And so the odds don't matter is because we don't know what the real odds of a universe being created are. And we can't tell if this universe is designed because we don't have another universe to compare it to that is either known to be designed or known to be natural, which is the only way we could do it. And we have to make sure we're comparing apples to apples. We have to make sure that we're comparing universe creation to universe creation, not what exists inside the universe, but universe creation. And we don't know. The only thing we know is what the laws of physics are in this universe. And we don't even know what causes the laws of physics, the way the universe works. We don't know what causes that, right? It was the initial conditions of the universe, but do they have to be the same? And just because the conditions in another universe don't give rise to human life doesn't mean it's not a viable universe. Right? And so we don't know anything. We can only, our math and our understanding of the laws of physics only goes so far close to the Big Bang, to the origins of the Big Bang, and we don't understand the high energy physics at that point to go any farther. So anybody who's calculating odds is doing so in the blind, which is why the odds don't matter. Does that make sense?
Well, I mean, yeah, but like you guys are like kind of talking a good amount, and so I'm still back here on the topic that I was trying to call in for. And if I say something about it, you're like, well, no, what about this that I was talking about?
Okay, go ahead. The topic you called that you said at the very beginning was to explain why the odds don't matter. And I started with that fundamental question, and then worked to why the odds don't matter. The odds don't matter because we don't know what the odds are.
Right. We've been talking about design the whole time. So where would you like to go, Caleb? We've got a bunch of other calls and we do have to get to them, but I want to give you time. I do want to try and walk through this with you. I will just remind you though, a minute ago, I laid something out for you pretty quick. I was trying to bounce back to you what you were saying, and you were like, hey, that's not a good argument. And I agree. So, but let's walk through it together, okay? You start. I'll even, look, we got a timer here. I'll even give you a minute. I'm happy to, when the minute's up, we'll jump in very, very rudely. But please, what you got, man? Tell us what you want to say. You got a minute.
That's not being put in the spot. Well, anyway, so I first want to say that I don't necessarily disagree with everything that the argument, like some different aspects of it, but now I want to get back to this. So like, I want to kind of give an example where probability would matter and then wonder, okay, so and then ask if it matters here, why wouldn't it matter when we apply it to the universe? So say that you're in a hospital and you have cancer, and then some doctors and nurses walk in, they're like, okay, so we have 2 medicines that were just invented that we think can cure your cancer. And then they're like, one of them has a 1 in 5,000 chance of curing your cancer, 1 chance in 5,000 probability. And the other one has a 1 in 5. And of course, you're going to go to the one with the best odds, right? You're going to choose the better one. And so it's like probability matters here then, because we want to choose what is most likely based on the studying that they use for the medicines. And so based on the evidence, we can get a calculation like the one that astrophysicist Hugh Ross came up with that shows us the universe has a very low chance of coming to existence by a random.
So I think I'm following with you. Jim, please explain.
So again, I answered your question. We don't know what the probability of a universe forming is, right? We don't know, because we don't know anything about the physics that cause universes to form. We don't know anything. So you can do all these calculations based on this universe, but we don't know how accurate they are, right? Just because various constants can be different in a model doesn't mean they can actually be different, right? It goes back to the idea that, all models are wrong, some models are useful. We don't know. So we can't calculate the odds. If you don't know how many sides of dice you have, you don't know what the odds of rolling a 1 are. And we just don't know, because we don't know anything about universe creation.
Yeah, so I mean, that makes sense. And we don't even know if there is any other universes or not, because it's something that we can't observe. But we can study things, observe things, and test things, make calculations for stuff that's within our own universe and with our own laws of nature. And based on that, like, DNA is something that is also used, and that's something that we can maybe calculate a probability of, because we know there are other planets and other galaxies in the universe.
We can calculate all kinds of things based on the laws of physics in this universe. Absolutely. But that doesn't mean we know how this universe was created.
Do you see why that doesn't work?
So, no, I'm not necessarily talking about universe creation at this point.
No, but we have to. Hold up, Caleb. We can't go anywhere else just yet. We have to talk about that. That's what the teleological argument is talking about. It's not talking about a flower. It's not talking about the pretty puppy that walks down the road and goes, bark, bark, yap. It's talking about everything. That's the issue that we have with that argument. If you want to say, hey, SR, Jim, we can roll dice. We can calculate how often 2 6s come up on 2 die. Like, yeah, man, I'm with you there. We can do that. But the problem is that the teleological argument doesn't give a crap about that. The teleological argument doesn't care how difficult it is to make this pattern at the bottom of the ocean. It cares about everything. So if we want to discuss that argument, we have to talk about the creation of the universe. And if you want to bring up a probability for that, exactly what Jim just said defeats that. We don't know what the probability is. All we've got is this universe. You admitted it. We don't know if there are other universes or what they look like, or we don't know. So now what?
Well, I mean, I'm not very, like I said, so I mean, I'm younger. I'm still kind of studying some of the stuff. And so I don't have the answers to some of this. And not that I have to, not that all these other people do.
Of course.
But I think there is some other people who do know more about this that I'm not thinking of right now.
I'm with you there, Caleb. And you know what? I love an opportunity for us all to learn more. I absolutely love that. And so let's just put a pin in it right there then. Let's just put a pin in it right there, and we'll come back to it when you've had a chance to go look up some more stuff. And don't just look up the people that are like, yes, teleological argument. Go look up the many, many arguments that have been talked about for many, many years against it, and why a lot of the people that are out there trying to talk about Christianity aren't using it anymore. A lot of people have moved well past the teleological argument, and they're believers in Christ.
And a lot of people haven't.
Yeah. But I'd go see where the numbers actually shake out, man. It's not in your favor. But we got other calls, Caleb. I really appreciate you. Seriously, look up some of that stuff. Hey, I'm not a freaking expert on this stuff either. But I'm telling you, when somebody tells me, hey man, we know the probability, and then we all three agree, go, no, actually we don't. Well, there we go. That's the end of that one. So thanks so much, Caleb. We appreciate it. I do hope you call back again